Hi there, esteemed and valiant viewers. Back again. Now, over the Christmas New Year period, I don't think Muller had much of a break. You know, I think he sort of put a little bit of Christmas pudding down the throat and was back at the coalface. Southern District of New York, same way. So there's a woman replacing Barbara Underwood there too. Who sounds very interesting, and I should do a reading on her. Letitia James, I think her name is, coming up soon. But remember months ago when the names of the Russian oligarchs started coming up, I did a few videos and I held up pieces of paper explaining the connections between people because it's so hard to keep track of it. And I mentioned, you know, Deripaska, the big aluminium giant, and Kislyak, the fake ambassador, and Alexander Torshin, who runs Putin's piggy bank, the boss of Maria Butina. Must do one on the spy swap too. All those names. Okay, so now we're at the next stage of all that, because Flynn's testimony, why he was offered no jail time, apparently includes a lot of this information putting Kushner and Don Jr. in 2 extra very important meetings. We all know about the June 16 meeting. So I've gone back to the drawing board. There was a meeting on August 3rd, 2016, and it put Kushner and possibly Don Jr., but definitely Kushner, in the room with George Nader, representing the Saudis, an emissary for the Saudis, Joel Zamel from Israeli intelligence, and a Russian oligarch thought to be Boyakin, who was a bag man for Deripaska. Hang in there, we've got more. Then on December 1, Kushner and Flynn had a meeting with Kislyak, the fake ambassador, spy for Russia, and the banker Golkov. Now, it's all a bit much, so I decided the best way to read it is to just speak of them collectively, these extra meetings. So rather than strain the brain with all these names and connections, suffice to say, this brings together Flynn, Kushner and Don Jr. in bed with some very serious international players. So let's just look at it from that point of view. I'm going to put these 2 meetings together and look at it. I'm going to do a Celtic cross about these meetings. So the Celtic cross in one big spread should explain the background to the meetings and the impact of the meeting. So let's hope we can pull that off. It's quite a complicated thing. Okay. All right. These extra secret meetings. This combines all that stuff on trying to get back channels, Kushner trying to get back channels to the Russians. The interesting bit is the Israeli intelligence officer too. We're talking money men, Russia. What's the story on these meetings? Oops. All right, let's start. I might have to push you a bit further away, viewers. There you are, and we'll get as much as we can in the camera. We'll do the first 4 to get a feel. Okay, so in here, the center, the very center of what will be a much bigger reading is the 2 of Wands, international business. This figure holding the world in their hands. So this could symbolically be Russia rather than America, but at this early stage of the reading could be either or both. So it's about the world, right? And power in the world and money and how it moves around. Okay, we've got that. Now, behind that, the King of Cups, I don't read on Putin much. There's another reader, I can't remember which one, who gets Putin as the King of Cups. But in this reading, I'm leaning towards that. Yeah, there's a Putin edge to this, there is no doubt. Okay, what's across it? What are the challenges and obstacles to this arrangement? Okay, doing international deals at the behest of Putin. Well, that would be the naivety of Kushner and Don Jr. Pages are young, right? Messages, they're sending messages across, but they're so young. Now, the Page of Pentacles is not usually a stupid figure per se, but it is youthful and being dazzled by the money to a certain extent, following the money. The eyes of the page are looking at the money, not really what's going on in other ways. So the cross to bear, which at this stage is starting to play out, is their youthful naivety at best. Underneath, this card keeps coming up, doesn't it? The Ace of Cups, the Mad Bird and the Chalice. One of the Hand of God aces. Okay, aces are offerings. They couldn't believe it. They couldn't believe it. They're offered these world connections, and they were too dumb or at best naive to realize you don't play with Russia and Israel and these big intelligence organizations without paying a price. Whereas they thought, oh, everyone just wants to know us because Dad and the father-in-law are president. Yeah, of course they wanted to know you because of that, so they could play you. So this is that. See the outpouring here. Very splashy card. Emotionally, they were very flattered. Okay, a bit further back, keeps coming up, this same story. The Fool card. They walked blindly into this. Now, these are intelligence agencies that work all over the world all the time, have for decades. They deal with really hardened and seasoned operators in other countries. These two, Kushner and Don Jr., it was like play school. It was Sesame Street. It was Sesame Street. Okay. The general sky. What was over this reading? Well, yes, the entire world. The entire world. Right. Reflecting the other globe in this one. The world, the world. They were suddenly playing on the world stage. Right. So they'd gone from downtown Manhattan to the entire world. Now, a bit further out in the future, Queen of Pentacles. God, the greatest mystery of the tarot world is the Queen of Pentacles. Who is she here? This could be Ivanka. It could be, but I think it's much more likely, I think Ivanka's too young. Ivana, the mother, she doesn't play at this level. You know, she's, I don't think it's Ivana. I think it's back to Rebecca Mercer. Because don't forget, this is talking about the campaign and all that stuff. That's when Rebecca Mercer was hugely influential in two ways. One, as a conventional Republican donor with her father. We're talking mega millions to the GOP, and Trump was their preferred candidate at that time, not anymore. B, Cambridge Analytica, which actually performed those treacherous acts to undermine the American election. Not only the American election, but also Brexit in the UK. I think this is Rebecca Mercer. Now, How did Kushner and Jared see themselves in this? We're seeing it with the benefit of hindsight and seeing their naivety. But how did they see themselves in this? Oh, yes, of course. They saw themselves, this was an opportunity to make money, group work, making money. The only Pentacles card with the Black Pentacles, dark money, and they loved it. And they were dealing with the best in the business. So they were beside themselves. They thought they were all that, you know. So what's their challenge in relation to this dynamic? Oops. Ooh-ah. Ooh-ah. It's come undone for them. This whole reading is about those secret meetings. This aspect is the challenge for them. They haven't met the challenge. They blew it with their naivety. Three of Swords through the heart. Okay, so the atmosphere, the environment, the money, international, intergenerational money, dynastic money, Trump money. It's even got its own little Trump tower in there, right? And Kushner, of course, marrying into and buying into the whole game. That was the atmosphere of what was going on, what they thought would happen. Are we surprised? Of course not. So, now we come to short-term outcome. Bearing in mind, tarot, not marvellous with timelines, short-term, I would say not more than 6 months, you know, just to give you a guideline what's happening. All right, this is being examined by Muller. Note the relationship between these two cards, the Two of Wands and the Three of Wands. In the centre, the Two of Wands. And it is about consolidating business and thinking up new ideas and new adventures. This waiting for your ship to come in card is very specifically, again, about international commerce. That is what's it. Further out, what do we have? They are embattled. That's fairly self-explanatory, is it not, viewers? I'll just give you another look at that. Yep. They think they've had a hard time so far in this last year. They know there's more ahead. Further out. Oh, the Apprentice, how ironic. I love that. The Apprentice card. They were the apprentices. They were so the apprentices. Oh, the naivety. The naivety. Let's just do one more outcome, because I like to get to a major arcana, if I can, with an outcome, rather than a card that's in the middle of a sequence. So what's the outcome for Kushner and Don Jr.? Kushner and Don Jr. in relation to this. Knight of Swords, we're still telling the story. Sorry. The Knight of Swords. They rushed headlong into this, right? See the headwinds. They raced off into the storm, all right? Now, I've got these other cards here, the Sibylla Oracle. I don't use them much, but I just want to do a couple of clarifiers with the Sibylla Oracle. They're cute, aren't they? They're tiny. See how little they are. And they're sort of weird to handle. When you handle one deck of cards a lot, even if it's playing cards, you really get a feel for them. And these are just so strange. So, I want to get a clarifier on the Queen of Pentacles. I want to get a clarifier on these last two cards too. So clarify, please, for the Queen of Pentacles. Queen of Pentacles. Yes. The Voyage. Yeah, it's like, here, I don't know if you'll be able to see this. It's like the rich person with the poor person just walking in their wake with their head down. I still think it's Rebecca Mercer, profoundly rich, even though that's a masculine aspect. It's the wealthy person controlling what's going on, and the working person, if you like, just having to follow and hope to catch up. Do you see that? The actual name of the card is Voyage, as in a trip. So taking a trip with Rebecca Mercer, right? They're quite gorgeous cards. All right. Oh, also, I forgot to mention, in the background of that, there's a wagon. Can you see the wagon? And the wagon, I think, in this case represents, it's like, represents the election in some way, transforming and transporting the election so that the rich guy wins and makes more money. Now, I want to clarify on the Apprentice card, and then I want one on the Knight of Wands. On the Apprentice, yes, it's called Un jeune homme brun, the dark-haired man. So this is both Kushner and Don Jr. They were the young lushes, the well-dressed young gentlemen who were setting out. See, bear in mind it's on top of the Apprentice, but they were only babies, right? They were dandies in a way. You know, this is someone who's born to wealth and privilege. That's exactly them, right? And it's someone, I'll just say one more thing about this card. This is someone who doesn't work for a living. They've inherited money. So if you look at the historical era depicted by this card, this young man would be given country estates or given an officer ranking in the military, right? Or something like that, being given privilege. I now want to know about the Knight of Swords. Knight of Swords. This is the young thing still. Oh, the dark-haired woman. That's interesting. Out of all the Sibyllas, we get the dark-haired man and the dark-haired woman who receives or is writing the letter. She is worried. Can you see that, viewers? I think this could be Ivanka. She's the sister, she's the wife. So it's like she's received the letter and she's written the letter. In terms of the legal situation, you know, desperately trying to make a legal case to protect her family. Interesting. Just another moment on Ivanka. What's going to happen with Ivanka? Now, her name is on all those things that the Southern District of New York is looking at, the criminal behaviour in the charities, also in the inauguration spending, and I'm sure other things. Presumably, that's going to be a big thing over Trump's head. You don't want your daughter to go to jail, you can resign, or playing the brothers off against the sister. I haven't ever seen Ivanka going to jail. Orange is the new black. On a fantasy level, would probably like to see it, but I don't think it's going to happen. Remember I said she could move away. When I thought about that after that reading, I thought she's not going to move away soon. Don't expect it in the next year or two even. But after 2 years or 3 years, when you're, you know, at the hairdressers or you're catching up with, you know, Hello magazine at the dentist if you can afford to have your teeth done. I'm saving up as we speak. I think Ivanka, 3 years, something like that. Do not be surprised if she turns up in Switzerland. Okay. All right, look, thank you all very much for your ongoing input. It keeps me going. I love, 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 love doing this. So thanks so much, and I'll see you real, real, real soon.